Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, I say that every time, but every time I'm telling you the truth because we're going to have a great show. You know what? Today, the subject is going to be a bit controversial, especially given that I am a man. Guess what? I am male, and I'm going to be talking abortion, and I'm very cognizant. I am very, very cognizant of the fact that the person that should be most represented and talking about these types of issues are women. But I'm a male host. What can I say? I can't change my gender based on what I'm talking about. But what I'm going to do is talk as if I'm talking to males, because I have that. That is something that I can do. I can speak to males. I can't necessarily tell women what it should be or whatever, but I can tell males what we better and should do. You know, and this wasn't the subject of the show today. Today, one of the things that I wanted to cover was an article by Robert Reich, and we probably still are going to cover that article by Robert Reich. Two of them, actually. One had to do with don't allow the socialism trope to really run ringshot over us. But the second one also had to do with the seven promises that Donald Trump has really not kept up with. So based on how this discussion goes, we'll talk about that. Now, what I want to ask women, if those women that are listening or whatever, please go ahead, and I would love to hear from you. I would love for you, better than just hearing from you. Let me tell you what I would love to have. I would love for you to take over this damn show. In other words, I am talking. If you call in, it is your show, baby. I'll ask the questions, and you lead us where we need to be led. So again, the number is 646-716-5812. Again, the number is 646-716-5812. Let me get that right. The number is 646-716-5812. But to start the program, actually, let me go ahead and tell you. Let me start the program the right way. I'm saying the title of the program today is "Why Do Women Bear the Brunt of Abortion Shaming When Our Economic System is the Largest Aborter?" I want to repeat that. Why do women bear the brunt of abortion shaming? Oh, shame. You know, a woman is going to an abortion clinic and everybody is there to shout her down. Shout this woman down. How dare you have an abortion? Oh, it's crazy. We are going to shout you down. You evil piece of woman. You are doing this. How can you be taken alive? All those things we hear, all those Bible thumpers and all these other people are really attacking women. They're attacking women for doing what's their constitutional right. But folks, this male-created, male-created economic system aborts more babies, aborts more people, aborts more than any woman, any particular woman obtaining an abortion. And my question on this whole issue is, why is it that we as progressives, we as the people promoting, are talking about why we support choice, why we believe in choice? Why is it that we do not make the appropriate argument? Why is it that we leave it solely on the back of women to defend how they should have this right, and there's so much more to this right than we're talking about? You see, there is a reason. And later on, I'm going to get into that reason because it is macabre. There's a reason why. There is a reason why we only go so far in the defense of women's right to self-determine, to self-determination, to determine about their bodies. Subtitle of the show. Let me give you the title again. Why do women bear the brunt of abortion shaming when our economic system is the largest aborters? And subtitle, many continue to apply their wrath onto women exercising their legal right to an abortion. Suppose they expanded the same energy on an economic system that inherently kills not only the unborn, but the born. What if we expended the energy appropriately in places where said energy should be? Where said energy should be the one that placed where it should be. But beforehand, I have a sort of an amusing thing to show you, a video. And I want to show you this video because it occurred in I think it was today in Congress or yesterday, I'm not sure when, I just pulled it down. But I thought it's ironic because the woman is making that perfect sense, as most women usually do with regards to what's going on. So check this out. Let me go ahead and cue that up. Here we go.
The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, it is tiring to hear from so many sex-starved males on this floor talk about a woman's right to choose. Mr. Speaker,
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I would just like to ask my friend if she'd like to change her last statement.
Mr. Speaker, if it pleases my colleague on the other side, I will withdraw my statement about sex-starved males on the floor.
The gentleman,
Mr. Speaker,
does the gentlewoman from California ask for unanimous consent to withdraw the statement?
I will agree to withdraw my statement regarding.
Is there objection?
Mr. Speaker, what I know my colleague well, and I thoroughly enjoy working with her on the Rules Committee.
The gentleman will suspend.
Reserving the right to object, Mr. Speaker.
The right.
I'm
Gentleman
asking.
recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I want unanimous consent to withdraw my statement.
The gentleman has reserved the right to object.
But I thank my friend from California. I do not object.
No objection. Without objection, the words are withdrawn. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will put it in different terms. It is tiring to be here on this floor or in committee as a woman to continue to be counsel about what types of affordable family planning conversations that rightfully I deserve to have with my own doctor. Choosing when women want to have a family and to avoid pregnancies before they become pregnancies. It is unfortunate that that is something that continues to be denied to American women day in and day out on this floor. And with that, I will reserve the balance of my time.
Now, how petty. She made a statement on the floor and it hurt his little tiny feelings, you know? We have all these guys trying to regulate women's body parts, women's reproductive services, or women's, their bodies all together. But anyway, the title of the show again, for those that are just joining us, I see quite a few just came back in, for those that are just joining us, title of the show: Why do women bear the brunt of abortion shaming when our largest economic system is the largest aborter of them all? Many continue, subtitle, many continue to apply their wrath onto women exercising their legal right to an abortion. Suppose, just suppose they expended the same energy on an economic system that inherently kills the born. Not only the born, but also the unborn. I had a conversation a few hours ago. I decided to, I was sitting at Starbucks and I had a different show planned, and this conversation got pleasantly heated because of this friend of mine who is a staunch anti-abortion guy, which he has a right to do, but since he cannot have a baby, he needs to keep that right, in my humble opinion, to himself and to other men who are amenable to listen. Of course to me too, because he's my friend. I listen to what he has to say. But again, we ought to know our limitations. Anyhow, I had a conversation a few hours ago. I decided to make the subject of our discussion the topic of the show today. Why? Because abortion is one of those subjects where anti-choicers believe they have the moral high ground. The fact is that they do not. I have a little comment before I get into the show about independent media, because we are covering a lot of these subjects, and we're covering it in a manner that isn't necessarily covered by the mainstream media, because again, some of what I'm going to tell you today about the abortion issue and how it could easily be defended to get into people, to let people to understand the severity, not the severity, but the hypocrisy of that with regards to many other things. A lot of folks on the left, or people we would call on the left, more than likely what we'd also call the establishment Democratic Party, they won't touch some of these issues, because touching these issues mean messing with some of the people who maybe they are owned by, but we'll talk about that. But anyway, independent media need your support from progressives. Free speech TV is in trouble. They've only got 20% of their money so far. We also have folks like Pacifica Network and many other independent progressive networks. We need your support. Politics Done Right, we need your support. So in the case of Politics Done Right, please go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Again, that is patreon.com/Politics Done Right. And please support shows like this, because we are going to bring you the unadulterated truth. Not only that, we're going to bring side positions that neither the Democrats or Republicans are going to provide, because again, it's not in their interest based on what's going on. So on the abortion issue, I'm going to show you as well what the issue and what the problem is. Yes. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to show you what the issue is. Going back to the show, full stop. We have women, when they're walking into these areas, into abortion clinics, they're assaulted, they're accosted. There are people trying to tell them, "Oh, you're doing the wrong thing. You're so evil. You're X, Y, and Z." But you know what is interesting? If we want to see what the largest aborter of babies, right, is our own system. Let's start with our medical system. Our medical system, because there's not prenatal care, because there are a whole lot of uninsured people, because we have a disparity in the way different groups are treated in our healthcare system, guess what happens? It's not only babies that die, miscarriages that occur, that kills the baby that supposedly these anti-choicers want to protect, but you don't hear them fighting for a healthcare system that's going to make sure that mothers are taken care of, that the appropriate types of services that they need to bring a full pregnancy to term, to fruition, is made. So they are one side, they're stoning this woman that she goes into that clinic. You must have that baby. You must have that baby. But we won't be there to ensure that you have good health care to take that baby to term. We won't ensure that you will have good health care so that you will live after you have that baby. We won't ensure that you have the health care necessary so that your mother's milk is of the quality your baby needs. But we want you to have that baby. And if you're going to abort if you're going to abort that fetus, there is an issue. So where are the women? Where are the men out there. And folks, it's a call-in show. I would love to hear from women, men too, but women preferably. 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. So here is the argument that we should be having. As soon as they talk pro or anti-choice, as soon as they attempt to try to stop and force these women and have this entire anti-abortion infrastructure, we ask them, but what are you doing to support these women? What are you doing to pass laws to ensure that these babies that would otherwise be born are taken care of? What laws are you passing to give Medicare for all to your citizens so that they can actually have a baby? There are many of these folks that simply must have an abortion because, you know what? They don't have insurance to take care of themselves to have that kid. Some are going to say, yeah, but some women are doing it by choice. In fact, there's a guy, one of the guys looked at me and he said, and furthermore, it shouldn't be the choice of the woman only if we are going to, for her to be able to abort the baby. Part of that baby is me. I should have a right. And then I said something that was a bit insensitive to him. I said something that was a bit insensitive to humanity. But on second thought, it is something that everybody has to think. If some guy who impregnates some woman says to that woman, that's part of me and I will not allow you to get rid of the baby, say, well, would you like to carry the baby? Should I take it out and implant it somewhere in you? I know that's not the most humane thing to say. I know that's not the most cool thing to say. I know that's not the most kosher thing to say. But the contention here for me, as far as until a baby is born, men should exert zero rights. And I repeat, until a baby is born, men exert zero rights. What they have the right for is compassion. What they have the right for is to help feed that woman, to help make that woman healthy, to make sure she has what she needs. Nothing else. Because what you're doing is you claim that you want the baby, you ensure that she's taken care of. Folks, the telephone number is 646-716-5812. I have more to say on this, but let me jump to the people that are sending emails right now. Daniel Lado says, please, you are allowed to have an opinion on abortion. You have an opinion on murder, don't you? I have an opinion on abortion. I have an opinion on murder. I have an opinion on much, and abortion is not murder, my friend. You can have an opinion that you choose to have it that way, but until it is codified into law, it's not so. Daniel Lado also says, shouting and praying are not the same thing. You're absolutely right. Shouting and praying is definitely not the same thing. And by the way, the praying that you have, praying, I see very few people doing that even in church, which has turned nothing. Many of the churches which have really simply turned into cesspools of hidden sex, from what we can see in the Baptist, the article written by the Baptist, by the Chronicle and the Baptist Church, and of course we know about the Catholic Church. And I'm talking about, I know it's not the majority, but it's enough to cause folks to be very concerned about what's hidden within the church. Lee Grant, he called her out for being rude. He called her out for being rude. She deservedly, I think it is rude when a woman is shouted down when she's trying to have going for a legal procedure. I think it is rude when we try to make a woman feel like somehow she's evil for doing what is legal. No. And I can almost guarantee you that there's a good likelihood the statement that she made was true. Going back to my messages, Lee Grant said, Eric Hayes says, tell all this to those who have lost kids before they are born and want them. I hope you are on my side, Mr. Rick Hayes, because you are so correct. There are so many women want kids, but their health care does not afford them to have it. There are so many who want kids, but the environment, well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, so let me not go into the environment yet. Let's not get there yet, because I really want to press the point that those people who really hate aborted babies, Those people who really hate abortion, if they want a bigger bang for their buck, they stop going to abortion clinics and they go a lot of other places, and it would be much more effective than what they're doing right now. Okay, Daniel Ledo comes back. So you agree it is a baby in the womb. I am just using the term baby for the sake of using the term baby. No, it's a blastoma, then eventually turns into a fetus, Daniel. If you need me to be perfect in my wording, I'll just start calling it a fetus, my friend. Tom Haynes. Oh, I get it. The woman must injure herself to die obtaining the abortion. It seems to me, Tom, like you're getting what I'm saying, and you're absolutely correct about that, brother. Egberto, and this is from Lee Grant now, says, Egberto, what evidence do you have of this shouting at abortion clinics? Say in this last year, I have video. Remember, I'm not only a blogger or keyboard, what do we call a keyboard? There's this term that they use, a keyboard activist or whatever you call that. I'm out there in the field, brother. And I go to Planned Parenthood every so often and get videos. I haven't been in the last few months, but I go and get videos of the horrendous nature in which they are treated. In fact, I also interviewed a couple of young women who are being taught to be this evil against other women who are doing something that is legally right for them. So yes, no, I'm not. This isn't hearsay, my brother Lee Grant. I've witnessed it and I have it on video. I'll prepare. Maybe I should have had some of the video that I took from out here to show you how evil these people get when they're out there. I have heard about people praying outside these clinics. Praying? Not P-A-R, not P-R-A-Y-I-N-G. You probably mean P-R-E-Y-I-N-G. Praying on these young people who are in a stage that really need support and not attacks. Support and not attacks. Let's remember that. Folks, the telephone number, I'd love to hear from some women. It would be great for you to call in, 646-716-5812. You'll get on air right away, 646-716-5812. Tom Hines, nope, not baby, not a baby. Thank you, Tom, for correcting me. And Tom then says, are you worried about the education, health, and feeding of the child once it's born? That's a question you do not have to ask, Brother Hines, because we know that, no, they're not willing to support the health care. They're not willing to support the education, nor are they willing to support food. You know, they don't want anything called welfare, right? Even if welfare was necessitated because of a horrendous economic policies by these guys who at the same time want to stop a woman from doing what she has to do to survive. And look, they're going to bring anecdotal evidence that shows some women use abortion as birth control. They're going to do that. And, do some women use abortion as birth control? Yeah, very, very few. But, no woman want to be into a stirrup and being scraped and have to go through the possibility of infection and bleeding and all of that all the times. And, I think it's sort of an argument a man would make, right? Oh, she's just doing that for protection, so that she, as a form of contraception. Something a man would say. Or not a man would say. Something a vile man would say is what I should say. Look, the reality is, if we want to protest the killing of babies, if we want to protest harming people, we just need to turn to any major corporation, any major fossil fuel company, any major chemical company who fight against regulations to make the environment and the surrounding area safer for the people. Because I guarantee you, more people die from what these corporations do to people, not only directly but indirectly, than any possibility of the aggregate amount of abortions in this country over the last several decades. So if you really want to stop a killer, we see them call these women that go for abortions. Killers, they're killers, they're killing people. When was the last time you went to the president of Exxon, the president of Chevron, the president of a Marathon, the president of all these guys, and go up to their faces and say, killer, killer, killer? When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you went to a corporation and called them killers? When was the last time you continuously march in front of these corporations that are polluting streams, that have lead in the blood of kids? When was the last time in Michigan you kept up the pressure on a governor who was definitely and intentionally allowed those people in Flint, Michigan, to be poisoned by lead, forever changing their lifespan and killing some with Legionnaire's disease, because he made the calculation to save money by going to a polluted source of water instead of a fresh lake water? How many babies died from miscarriages in Flint, Michigan, because of the polluted water that was created by these industries? How many people in Houston, Texas miscarried because of that big fire that we had that dumped a lot of pollution into the air and into the water that eventually seeped into these people's bloodstreams? Are you calling them killers? Are you marching on the pieces of government that are denying you Medicare for all? Or are you fighting those people in Congress who are denying Texans? We just had a session in Texas. Did we pass a bill to take some of the money that we are already giving to the federal government? Are we saying, let's take back some of our own money so that we can provide health care to our citizens who are dying? Did we? Did we? No. So it's very misplaced. It is always easy to attack the weak one, or the one that we perceive to be weak. It is easy to tell women, it's your fault. It is easy to tell the weak, it's your fault. It is easy to tell the poor, it's your fault. But telling Bill Gates that because of the pricing power that you have with all the software you sell, because of that pricing power, whether you know it or not, you have priced people out of jobs. And in pricing people out of jobs, you have priced them out of health care. And in pricing them out of health care, you have killed babies. See? You can go down that line. I can go down that line with just about every billionaire, because it's true. We have a fatalistic economic system, and we just let it happen. We are scared to say we definitely want the government taking over the payment for health care because it is more efficient. Because we have some Yahoo that's going to come, or a group of Yahoo who have organized to come out and say, oh, you want government takeover for healthcare? Why do you want government takeover of healthcare? No, we want the private sector running healthcare. Why? Because the private sector is better? No, the private sector can be just as evil as government, because they're one and in the same. Never sit back and believe for one time that there is some magical difference between the private sector and the government sector that rules. And notice I said the government sector that rules. What I mean is, when McConnell doesn't bring bills up into the Congress, people, oh, government is bad. But no, he's working under the command of the private sector. When they don't support, when the Congress look, these average Republican Congress people, they're not inherently bad. They're cowards. They're not inherently bad. They're cowards. Establishment Democrats are not inherently bad. They're cowards. They go with the stronger one. So the average American citizen has the vote that is easily bought. How do I mean easily bought? Because they buy confusion to confuse you into voting against your own interests under the command of the private sector. I want you to get this, folks. This is important. This is important. Whenever people say government is bad, it's not government that's bad. It's the private sector that's bad. Because the private sector is the one that's coercing bad government. Get it in your heads. You know, all of this is turned around, right? And if we turn this around enough, you start believing the crap. Oh, government is inefficient. Government is not inefficient. Government run by the private sector is inefficient. Let's give you a great example. The United States Postal Service. Everybody wants to rag against the Postal Service. Oh, the Postal Service is so terrible. You know, those people that work at the Postal Service, they're well paid, but they're so rude. And a lot of them are rude. But you know what? A lot of folks, when I go to Best Buy or all of that kind of places too, they're rude too. So they're just human beings, whether you're working for the Postal Service or Best Buy. Okay. But they talk about the inefficiency of the Postal Service, right? A guy called me up at the, I think it was at KPFT, and he said, Egberto, you tell me one government organization that works efficiently. And other than the Social Security, which works very well, you ask any old person who gets their Social Security check on time, every single month they get their Social Security check on time, and it is there. You may say, oh, there's some inefficiencies when you go in and talk to people. But you know what? I get into problems with FedEx, and you fight to try to get it. I have some problems with my bank. I stay on hold for half hour, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. They're all and in the same. The government is just like any other corporation, any other big corporation. It's hard as hell to navigate because it's big. And that's how it is. But here's the deal. The Postal Service, like I was about to tell you, and I know we're talking abortion, but all of this ties in. You know, the whole thing ties in. UPS and FedEx and all these guys would love to take over all shipping, right? Because they want to sock it to you. How are they going to sock it to you? You know, you can mail a darn letter any part of the United States for 49 cents. You cannot mail a damn thing through FedEx or UPS for 49 cents. So who is more efficient again? And by the way, the Postal Service is self-sustaining. And it's not only that the Postal Service is self-sustaining, they have to run a surplus for their own confounded retirement plans, which no other private company is asked to do. In other words, if you ask the Postal Service if their retirement plans for their people are paid up, they're paid up for 75 years. That was how the government tried to take them down, by saying you had to fund all of your retirement 75 years into the future. But guess what, brothers and sisters? You go to Exxon or you go to any one of these other companies that have pensions, right? You go to your state government that has pensions. Guess what? Most of them are unfunded. So they're giving you a pension, they're going to pay you monthly when you retire, but a lot of it is unfunded. But in order to try to make the Postal Service look less efficient than it is, they tell them you got to pay up billions of dollars into your retirement plans for your employees 75 years in the future. I think it's 75. I may be off a few years, but I think it's 75 years in the future. Think about that. And they're still efficient. Again, UPS can't send a letter for 49 cents. FedEx can't send a letter for 49 cents. But let's go a little bit better. Let's even take it a little better. It's not only that FedEx and UPS cannot deliver for 49 cents. And that is obvious, right? The reason, I'm coming to you, caller, in a little bit. The reason they can't deliver for 49 cents or whatever is because they have big shareholders that they have to pay dividends to, and they also have big executive making hundreds of millions of dollars, okay? So of course it costs more. You cannot have a more efficient private sector than the public sector. Now, I want a strong, robust private sector because you get innovation. People want to try other things, and the government is just there to serve us, and then we can do all the other things on our own. But there are very specific things we want the government to do. Healthcare, energy, and education, and infrastructure. We want the government to do all those things. Call it whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. Let me go to the caller, and then I'll continue. But before I say that, let me just say about the Postal Service. This is the kicker about the Postal Service, folks. You know, there are a lot of areas that are rural in this country. Guess what? Even as UPS and FedEx charge you a premium to send mail, even if it's a 3-day mail, right? And defense. You're right, Daniel Ledo. Thank you. Defense. Even as they cannot deliver to the rural areas, UPS or FedEx. Guess who delivers the last mile for them? The good old United States Postal Service is sanctioned by UPS and FedEx to deliver those packages they can't do for the price. Who is more efficient again? We have to stop listening to the rhetoric out there and understand good government works. Well, and government influenced by the corporatocracy, government influenced by the plutocracy, government run by the private sector, that is bad government. And that is the part of government that always fails us. Let's go now to my dear caller, 973. Come on in.
Hey, Berto.
Talk to me. Who am I have the honor of speaking to?
It's Johnny. How are you today, Berto?
Talk to me, Johnny.
Hello?
Welcome aboard,
Can you hear
Johnny. Hi, yeah, I can hear you, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say excellent conversation today. And, of course, when we're talking about the private sector versus the government sector, I think one of the things I'd like to add to what you're saying, because you just did a magnificent job, the one thing I would like to add is accountability.
Yes.
And the reason why private companies, they're not accountable to the taxpayer. They're just not. And so all these people that are using these, and I put this in quotes, these supremacist talking points, talking about drowning big government and complaining about the inefficiency of big government, don't seem to like accountability. Because what I like about accountability is that it takes even, anybody that's paying their taxes has the right to certain information and to be able to push the levers of the system to get what they need. And in the private sector, you can't do that. Private sector, it's oblique and pretty much it's opaque, I should say, and you don't have access to any information. And the one, which brings me over into your original talking point, which is like, how does abortion fit into all of this? Mm-hmm. And you so eloquently said a couple weeks ago that you pointed out that our economic system is closed. We have a closed economic system in which wealth has to be extracted. And so how do you account for this duality where on the one hand these people are saying that they're against abortion, but they're pro-death penalty?
Exactly.
And so much for the sanctity of life. For this is the sanctity of life, then we know the answers to that. But the really reason that they're anti-abortion is because every new human being born creates an opportunity for more wealth extraction. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And so it ends up being that they want more kids born into poverty because that becomes an opportunity to extract wealth from the people. And so this is the sad part of it. And the real question is, in my mind, the three issues as an ADOS, the three issues that come into my mind right away is, of course, the racial wealth gap, number one, and number two, mass incarceration, and three, reparations. And then the question just becomes, how does abortion fit into those pictures? How does abortion contribute to wealth inequality? And I feel like forcing women to have children that they don't want, like, are you kidding me? I saw something in one of the medical journals that said that they believe that the reduction in crime rate was due to the fact that women were not being forced to have children they didn't want. And kids were no longer going to like orphanages
Let me tell you something, John.
and being sent to places.
Interestingly, the guy that I had the discussion with at Starbucks this morning, he said, "Oh, that was a Hitler type statement that abortions actually reduce crime." And I told him, "Look, there is some, I mean, as bad as that may sound, there's a correlation with babies with having babies that are valued as opposed to babies that are not valued. And what is it? If you want to know what is the thing that causes the most crime is the unattentiveness to kids. Now that the mother and father is out of, and this is where I talk about, Johnny, all of this, when I tie all of both the economic system and abortion into the picture, right? When you look at the economic system being so lousy that now mother and father has to work, which leaves kids idle alone, which lead them with opportunity to get into trouble, and that is what we see. It's all based, all of these evils, all of these ills are based on an economic system that promotes it. And but here's a kicker.
Absolutely.
And here's a kicker that I want to add to this, to your excellent points, Johnny. This system is a type of system that does this. This is how evil it is, right? I poison you with opioids that you paid for, so that then I could heal you with an anti-opioid that you pay for, right? I go ahead and I make you sick with the pollution so that I can then charge you to heal you. And we see all these things, right? I go ahead, I make you sick so I can heal you. It is amazing that people don't see the correlation with this. We are a society that we
I will say it's actually worse because, like you said, all you have to do is think about the fact that you have a situation like in Flint where you say, okay, these kids are being lead poisoned. And now, and let me tell you something, just as a side note, that was a resident who discovered that those kids were being lead poisoned.
Oh, you were?
That happened almost by accident. That was a resident in Flint, Michigan.
Okay. Oh, I didn't know that's where you did your
residency. With the lead poisoning.
Okay, great.
So it was a resident. I didn't do my residency in Flint, but I'm just pointing out that it was a resident that found out that the kids were being poisoned because they were paying attention.
Yes.
So my point is that here's the loop. Here's the thing. Now, if I said to you, what if they actually did lead testing all around the country, especially in the inner city? What you're going to find is that those kids were lead poisoned. And here's the thing. You lead poison the kid, right? And now you ask him to go to school.
Right.
And in school, he's going to have behavioral issues, and he's not going to perform as well on exams. But then what you do is you're able to create this dialogue of, see, these black people are inferior. Mm-hmm. They can't perform well on exams. They have behavioral issues. See, this justifies the system that we have in place. So it's almost as if this is being done on purpose to create the environment that we're in today.
And here's the thing that gets me, John, because when you make statements like that, the first thing that you hear is you are a conspiracy theorist, right? That's the first thing that you say. But what they don't understand is people don't go out and say, let's just hurt these people specifically. That's not what they say. What they do is they effect policies that they know in the aggregate will provide them a market. It is the same thing that the Partnership for the Partnership for Future of American Healthcare, right? They are not doing anything specific. They're just ensuring that the market remains. And that is what these companies do. In other words, you want a market to remain for incarcerated kids, right? So you want to keep the prison in the
course, especially now that it's privatized.
Right. So you want that
especially
market,
now that it's privatized.
Right. So you want to create an environment where you can always have a flow to keep that particular sector functioning. And the same occurs over and over and over from sector to sector. And that's why,
Now,
go ahead.
I just wanted to point out two things that transformed our economy in the 70s and how we got into Reaganomics. Now, remember, so women were, you give women the right to an abortion. That transforms our economy and forces women and allows women to enter the workplace instead of being tied down on the yoke of raising a child they don't want. And then 2, they switched to unleaded gas. Remember, in the 70s, you could buy gas that was leaded.
Imagine that.
So all the gas stations were dumping lead into the water supply.
Yes.
And believe you me, and none of them were held accountable. None of them had to pay. Yes, there was government. The government made a change and allowed, unleaded gas to take the lead out of the gas. But really, if you think about it, the water was poisoned. And so you think about it, you go, okay, well, there was lead in the water, and then you had this abortion rights. And these 2 things, you take the lead out the water, you give women the right to have an abortion, and it transforms our society and allows us to go into the 80s, and then Reagan comes along. And I'm just saying, like, none of this is by accident. All of this, and what's so interesting about our economic cycle now, is now it gets to be perpetuated, but the beautiful thing about it, as far as the people who created the system, they get to say, it wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Right.
And it really takes away accountability. So then you're like, well, who's doing this? Who is the invisible hand that's pushing this market? So when you talk about a visible hand, you think economics. But there's an invisible hand to the culture of our country. And it's so fascinating to see places, Mississippi, Alabama, these places have issues with a disease like hookworm because the septic systems are so corrupted in those areas. You literally can't walk around barefoot or you will get parasites. It's driving into your feet. Like, this is insane. This is 2019 and there's hookworm outbreaks in the South. And so I just say to myself, this is all serving one purpose. This serves the prison industrial complex.
Serves the prison,
which of course now that it's privatized,
and the health industrial complex as well. Look, this is a sham.
Yes.
It is a complete sham.
Yes.
But
yes.
And abortion is just one sector. And one of the reasons
it's one sector of it. Yep.
Right. What I wanted to do with this program though is to tie them in, because when we're approached by those anti-choice protesters, we try to point them. Don't protest the woman here. Protest what caused her to have had to have this abortion, because most of the times it would have been her economic situation. Not only when I say economic situation, I don't necessarily mean she doesn't have the cash or anything like that. I mean the totality of the economic system, the totality of it. And then let's remember also that if you want to talk about that which is killing more people, it's not abortion. It is what corporations are doing to people, both physically and mentally.
It is.
It's not just physical. It is mental. It's a mental stress.
These are the same corporations.
Go ahead.
These are the same corporations that prevented us from using seatbelts.
Right.
There was a lot of work done on just getting us to use seatbelts and whether or not seatbelts would be mandatory. It seems so obvious now, but there was a lot of pushback against even having seatbelts in cars.
Right.
Because we have a vested interest in chaos. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, this is all part of it. And so I would just say to people, it really does come down to what kind of society that we want. I want a society where people are accountable. And I noticed that one of the things that I really don't like about the Trump presidency is this lack of accountability.
Right.
We can do whatever we want, and then there's no accountability.
And
I'm saying to myself, when does he get held to be accountable?
That is our fault.
It is our fault.
We have to make, and that is one of the jobs of Politics Done Right. We have to try to put the urgency into Americans that you have a voice, because a lot of times Americans are just resigned to believing that they can't make a change. You have a voice, and if enough of you get together, if enough of us get together, we can actually force a change. Because you know what? When they think they can control your mind with the monies that they're going to put in there to really try to brainwash you, when you have the Politics Done Right of the world, the free speech TVs of the world, the Tom Hartman of the world, the TYTs of the world, when you have all these guys out there as the counter message, then it's there. But hey, Johnny, it's a pleasure to have you on as usual.
Thank you for letting me in today.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Keep going, brother. Have a good day.
You have a great day now, folks. And I want to bring that up because notice what I said. We have power. As individuals, we have power. But we have to exert it. And the way we exert it is to allow other people to know we have power. Right now, I'm going to be making this statement because I have for Politics Done Right, I have two things going right now. a GoFundMe that I'm trying to do to raise some equipment so I can do these things faster and for mobility at Netroots Nation. So it's two things. I have a GoFundMe going, and it's not doing very well right now. I need you guys to let it do well because again, we have to get the message out, and the only way we get the message out is if we are out there putting it out. And I did a little video, if you could go to my wall, I did out of my car yesterday to just show people we have to have faith in ourselves. We have to have faith, and we have to also invest in that which is going to make things better for us. We got to do that. Now, right now, we have 24 candidates running for president. We are filling those guys' coffers. And this is what I explain to people. All that money that we are sending to those presidential candidates, right off the top, there's a certain amount that goes to those people who are collecting that money for the presidential candidate. Just for collecting it, they may get, let's say, 7 to 10%. Then, you know where the rest of that money goes? To a hell of a lot of consultants. Do you think the average person that's walking down, beating the doors to say, hey, please vote for Buttigieg, please vote for Kamala Harris, please vote for Elizabeth Warren, do you think they're getting megabucks or paid? Most of them are not. It's for free. So we are donating to these candidates, and many times a lot of their monies go to elite consultants. These consultants don't know what they're doing. That's why Hillary Clinton lost, because people say, oh, well, it's the Russians who helped. Yeah, but why didn't she know the Russians were helping? Couldn't she look at those consultants have been scouring her Facebook pages and seeing what occurs on Facebook so that they could counteract that? No, they didn't. Facebook offered the Clinton administration a person inside to help with Facebook, the Facebook posts, etc. They denied it. They said, no, we don't need that. So what I'm saying is, if we take a look at the totality of what's going on in these campaigns, they are money raisers. They raise a lot of money, millions from you. But most of that goes to a whole lot of consultants and elitists who are not really engaged with the community, who are not there telling people, are trying to gauge what people want or informing to the candidate what people want. That's who they are. And then you have groups like, organizations, media organizations like Free Speech TV, like Tom Hartman, like yours truly, Politics Done Right, the Young Turks Network. We also have the Majority Report. All these different organizations that themselves are putting themselves on the line to make sure and inform you, to tell you things that the mainstream media won't, because they're owned by the plutocracy, they're owned by the corporatocracy. Advertisers that advertise with them limit what they can say. Like today I come out and I tell you guys, if you really want to stop the abortion issue, go ahead and protest against the corporations that presents the pathway for women to have abortions. It's not the women. You go to the genesis of the problem. We show how this is. That's our job. So what we ask, Free Speech TV, Tom Hartman, and Politics Done Right, support us as well. Instead of supporting 5 candidates, most of them that you know don't stand a chance, please support the Politics Done Right, the Free Speech TV, the TYT, the Op-Ed News, the Daily Kos, and all these other progressive organizations that are really trying to make a difference. We're going to be in Philly talking to all these guys. We're going to be in Philly talking to those representatives and those. In fact, when I get into interview some of the politicians, I'm going to say, and this is what the people want, and this is what the people believe. They're going to be hearing somebody close to the people, somebody that's in the field. Politics Done Right is always in the field. So what I'm asking you folks is the following. Please help support the process. Please go ahead and go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Help support Politics Done Right and others as well. It's inexpensive. We don't, whereas those guys ask for a whole bunch, we just try to be sustainable. And that's what I am asking folks to provide support for. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Patreon.com/Politics Done Right. those of you who support and subscribe to our program, you get to read all our books. All the books that I write is there for you to read online. And moreover, you get, there's quite a few benefits. Just go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and see all that we have to offer. By the way, we now have a store. Our store is called, where's the picture here? Here we go. You can get our Politics Done Right cup. You can get our Politics Done Right stickers. You can get our Politics Done Right t-shirts. All of that at store.politicsdoneright.com. Store.politicsdoneright.com. Please support us however you can. You can also go to politicsdoneright.com and just click the donate button. Help us really make that difference that we are making. Help us do what we need to do. Because you know what? Most of the candidates that you're supporting, yes, they're millionaires. They are millionaires, and you know what? They decided that many of you who are struggling, they constantly come to you every day. Please give, please give. We come to you and we say, please just give enough so that we can survive. In our case, we're saying our subscriptions are cheap. Please visit Patreon, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Join the family. Also consider going to our GoFundMe. It's you should be able to find it, the Politics Done Right GoFundMe. And if you just go to our page, please support what we have to do. What we have to do is not only altruistic, it is effective and we can do it. Yes, last night, Dr. Thais told me, Egberto, we need you to come to a deliberative dialogue. So we had a deliberative dialogue, Republicans, Democrats alike. And it was a very productive dialogue because a lot of Republicans got to see that progressives are not the nutcases that Fox News have them believing we are. And at that point, they're wanting to talk because they realize a lot of the things that we want is what they want. But we have to have the infrastructure. We need to have the infrastructure to do that. So again, please go to Patreon, patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You know we're here for you. We have a lot to offer. We also offer the book that I'm writing, How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. And as you know, I have had my health problems. So after my health problems, I wrote the book, Lose Weight and Be Fit Now. Say No to Snake Oil Weight Loss. You can get these all at Amazon.com as well. As if you subscribe, you get it all for free if you subscribe to Politics Done Right. So I really am asking you to go to patreon.com/Politics Done Right. That's if you're on the screen, you can see it on the screen. Folks, tomorrow I wanted to talk a little bit about Robert Reich's article. I didn't get to it today. I'll probably get to it tomorrow. As far as guests are concerned, as you know, last week we had a lot of guests last week. This week we're not going to have a whole lot of guests. I'm trying to switch it out. Sometimes I want to carry a lot of topics and where I say a lot. Like today, where I really had a whole lot that I wanted to say, and I wish to get more calls when you don't understand something or you want clarification, because that is what I'm here for. Let me read a few more things before I go. David Madison says, Ecclesiastes 4.1, I returned and considered all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold, the tears of those who were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of the oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. Ecclesiastic 41b. Yes, I have somebody who knows his Bible here. Therefore I praise the dead who are already dead more than the living who are yet alive. Ecclesiastes 4-2. Yea, better than both of them is he who hath not yet been, who hath not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. But you believe science when it comes to climate change. I believe science. Let me tell you something, folks, okay? I am not anti-religion at all. In fact, I think anti-religion borders to some extent on conceit, and I don't mean that to be a pejorative. What I mean is the following. I look around and I look at the greatness of matter. I look at the greatness of the gravitational pulls. I'm an engineer by training. I had a lot of science classes, physics, everything, right? And I understand the Bernoulli equations and all that kind of stuff. And I sit down and I wonder sometimes, okay, so this is how the physics work in our world, but who defined how that physics was going to work in the first place? And I am humble enough to know that there's something more that I don't know. And that I don't know is what I consider that which I don't know, the master, the being, the creator. I am not into regular religion, but that is what I consider that. So I want you to realize, sorry about that, I want you to realize this, brothers and sisters. We don't have to, when we are confronted with religious people, those of you that are progressive and lean anti-religion, we should look at everybody for who they are and what they represent. That is what we should be doing. That is what we must do. Mike Cesek ends with, Tom, actually, I believe science. I just don't believe the hyposphere. What is going on here, guys? Come on now. So anyhow, my brothers and sisters, this is the end of the show. So you know how I'm going to end this baby. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And guess what? I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.